I bought fuel over the weekend. It was an exciting experience. I had been so depressed watching the long fuel queues and locked filling stations and black market sellers. The last time I stayed on a fuel queue, after waiting for 3 hours, they stopped selling when it was my turn. Tail between my legs, I quietly bought black market fuel at 3,500 naira for 10 liters, praying to God and to the woman who was selling me the fuel out of the boot of her car that the fuel I was buying was not diluted with water. It's a very disappointing situation we found ourselves in the nation's capital. But the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources says we will not experience fuel scarcity, at least throughout the Yuletide season. How did we get here? We now pray for basic amenities. Is this recurrent fuel scarcity in Abuja fixable? My guest believes it is. He explains why they happen and plans that are in place to end this once and for all. The burden of this scarcity has been worst on the residents of the nation's capital. So we listen to their stories and find out how they feel about the assurances made by the government of abundant petrol this Yuletide. And as we do every week, we update you on major stories from Nigeria's presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. Let's begin with a wrap-up of the major stories from Nigeria's seat of power.
The Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned indefinitely the trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, in the terrorism charges brought against him by the federal government. The trial judge, Justice Binta Nyakwa, adjourned Sinadai to await the decision of the Supreme Court on appeals by the federal government and Mr. Kanu's defense team. 2 other applications billed for hearing before the court were also put on hold indefinitely for the same reason. Meanwhile, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu has refused to appear before the Federal High Court.
Why will Nnamdi Kanu, who has already indicated in a cross appeal against that case that he wants to be at the Supreme Court for the hearing of his matter, why will he suddenly turn around and say he's not coming to court? To me, that story stands logic on its head, and I don't buy into it at all.
The House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Appropriation to make provision of 200 billion naira in the 2023 appropriation year for the Ecological Project Office in the Presidency for flood preparedness, mitigation, response, recovery and relief packages. Lawmakers made the resolution after considering an urgent motion drawing attention to the flood disaster across the country. The Green Chamber is also urging the federal government to make an urgent request for a supplementary budget from the National Assembly, the sum of 100 billion naira to the Ecological Project Office as an intervention fund for mitigation, recovery and relief programs across the nation.
The House therefore resolves to 1. Mandates the Committee on Legislative Agenda to coordinate a technical working group between the executive and legislature, as well as industrial experts and stakeholders, to articulate an action plan to forestall a repeat of such flood and erosion disasters in 2023 and beyond. 2. Urge the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning and Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, to release immediately a princely sum of 5 billion naira into the already created Ecological Fund account of each state of the Federation and FCT to mitigate the effect of flooding that recently ravaged the entire nation.
Enhancing private sector participation, the need for political will on the part of the government, and tackling insecurity, youth unemployment and gender inequality are the issues on the front burner at the 28th Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja. The Vice President, Professor Emil Shinbajo, who declared the event open, said the federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari has prioritized developing the non-oil sector as it calls for improved productivity and value addition across different sectors of the economy. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group is asking the administration of President Buhari to revisit the issue of subsidy before the end of his tenure.
We must create the environment for business to make local and international trade easier by fixing our ports, effecting the national single window, revamping our customs processes and tariff codes to reduce delays and arbitrariness, removing needless restrictions on imports to enable value-added processes, etc. Of course, our exchange rate regime remains an issue of some concern. The discussions that we must have, shorn of sentiments, is how best to manage the situation by finding a mechanism for increasing supply and moderating demand, a mechanism which will be transparent and which will boost confidence.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved 134 billion naira for military veterans, which is the payment for security debarment allowance to all veterans, as he reiterates a promise to leave Nigeria a safer country when he exits in 2023. The president gave the reassurance during the emblem appeal launch for the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration held in the State House Council chambers. At a brief ceremony, the president further announced a 10 million naira donation to the Nigerian Legion, urging Nigerians and corporate organizations to support the country's veterans whose past sacrifices have kept the country together.
I approve the payment of security debarment allowance to veterans with effect from 2017. However, in order to capture all veterans hitherto excluded from the payment of the security debarment allowance, I have approved a review of the effective date of the MAFA 2017 accordingly. I have also approved the sum of 134 billion 749,953,243 naira 69 kobo only for that purpose.
The Senate has resolved to provide legislative support to the CBN to redesign new naira notes. The upper chamber is making this resolution after a heated debate on a motion moved by Senator Obasani on CBN's policy to redesign the naira note. The majority of senators across party lines support the redesigning of the naira, but some of them are concerned about the deadline set by the Apex Bank for the old notes to be deposited in commercial banks. Keep the peace in your politicking, or you along with your foot soldiers will face the full wrath of the law. That was the instruction given by the Inspector General of Police at a meeting with political parties and other stakeholders in preparation for the 2023 general elections at the force headquarters Abuja. According to the Inspector General of Police, the meeting became necessary as the police has noted 52 cases of politically motivated violence across 22 states in Nigeria since the official commencement of campaigns for the 2023 general elections on 28 September 2022. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is assuring citizens who registered for their permanent voter cards between January and June this year that they will get their cards by the end of this month. The Director of Voter Education at the Commission, Mr. Festus Okoye, stated this at a meeting with news editors in Abuja to discuss INEC's preparedness for the 2023 general elections.
Welcome back. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation recently called for calm from all Nigerians, promising that there's enough petrol to last the nation during the Yuletide. Now, as a Nigerian who's heard this before, I'm not very convinced. The recurrent fuel scarcity in Abuja has made me very distrusting. But how do the residents of Abuja feel? The scarcity comes up with no warning. You just wake up in the morning and there's no fuel. Then you suffer for weeks. And then you wake up one day and there's fuel. How has this affected the residents of the nation's capital? And is there a permanent solution to this mess? Please watch this. The fuel queues are gone from the nation's capital, for now. It's a relief considering how bad residents of the nation's capital have had it through the course of 2022. This was the situation just a few days ago, and it's been a recurring decimal in the nation's capital. Fuel scarcities without warning that last for weeks, crippling economic activities, defacing the nation's capital, and creating unbearable hardship for Abuja's residents. This relief is welcome. The question is, how long will it last?
I welcome every one of you here.
On the 14th of November 2023, at a stakeholders meeting at the NNPC Towers in Abuja, which had in attendance the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Malam Melekeri, the Authority Chief Executive of NMDPRA, Engineer Farouk Ahmed, the leadership of Moman, Dabman, Ipman, NATO, PTD, and other energy on-radar players, the Honourable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Timipiri Silva, announced that all is in place to ensure sufficient petrol and petroleum products during the Yuletide season and beyond.
I expect a Yuletide supply, storage and distribution plan in the next 48 hours for presentation to FEC, to the Federal Executive Council, to assure Nigerians of the government's commitment in line with the contracts we signed with the Nigerian people at the inception of this administration in 2015. Product stock levels must remain adequate, sufficient and available to support the various Nigerian families traveling without any encumbrances.
The Group CEO of NNPC Limited, Malam Melekeri, re-echoes the same commitment and talks about the pricing issue behind the scarcity experienced in the FCT.
As we speak, Honourable Minister, the queues in Abuja have gone away, not by any magic, just reality. I'm sure my colleague, the Authority Chief, will speak to this. It's just a pricing issue, so let me just face it bluntly. And what we did to bring this relief, and I would like to thank Dapman, Mom, and all of us for coming off to this. It's simply not possible, Honourable Minister, to take, I know there's a lot of overlap between supply and this, that's why I really need to speak to it now that I have the opportunity. There's no way you will take PMS in Lagos and bring it to Abuja today, PFI at 113 and sell it at 175 or 180 and recover your cost. So it's not possible. We have seen this, and I know my colleague may speak to it, maybe 180 max, at the very least 180. Otherwise, you will not be able to recover your cost. But this is the reality that we are dealing with. And we struggle to see how we can normalize this, at least for Abuja. Outskirts of Abuja, Honourable Minister, there's nowhere that is selling 180, anywhere else except Lagos. So it doesn't exist anywhere. Yes, there are pockets of customers, some of our supplier customers that do improvise and sell in some location, but it's not the general practice. It's very, very remote cases that we have. So across the country, this is the reality that we're dealing with.
Powerful words from the regulators and stakeholders of Nigeria's petroleum industry. But these are words residents of the nation's capital have heard before. Do these assurances mean anything to Abuja's residents?
The promise, we can't say it until that day, because most of the time, you can see what happened now. Last week, the fuel was so scarce. To buy fuel, you have to join the queue. But like weekends to this morning, Monday morning, what we just discovered is that the fuel starts be available and the meter price change suddenly to 180. So without even announcing any other thing. So we don't know. But for now, everybody is still scared because December period is by the side.
From what is happening now, there's fuel everywhere. I'm hoping that we are going to enjoy this Christmas with enough fuel. But they should look into this issue of pricing now. And instead of the price, fluctuating, it's not really good. It's not really good.
It has affected me a lot. Because if not because of these 2 days, I used to buy fuel black market whenever I'm coming to town. You cannot see fuel in the filling station. Unlike now, that you can enter within 5 minutes, you bought fuel and go.
NNPC said they are going to be a fuel. And then we are happy to see that we have a surplus fuel. Do you understand? Now you can see no queue. I just come straight to the pump to buy. So I'm happy.
But do you think this will
even if they should increase it, we would like it more than to suffer to get the fuel.
The way it's going, we don't believe there's going to be sufficient fuel. Because for now, the fuel scarcity is biting hard on Nigerians. This is not what the government promised us. If the marketers, probably, so to say, the marketers in charge of fuel and NNPC themselves make the fuel available and affordable too, I think next week we should expect more fuel.
I don't think that's a true story, because this is what we experienced last year. Last year, the same fuel scarcity happens, all true. Okay, I was even going home, I was not even able to fuel my car up to a complete tank. So I believe it's the same old story they keep giving us.
As the fuel queues ease in the nation's capital, the Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency is promising to continue monitoring fuel stations to ensure that there is no hoarding of the product. Residents of the nation's capital would have to keep their fingers crossed in the coming weeks to see if the queues come back. Meanwhile, they've been urged to avoid dangerous practices such as storing petrol in their homes and, as always, remain calm. My guest on the program is the president of the Independent Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Elder Chinedu Okoronkwo. He's confident about a lot of things. First, he believes Nigeria's ability to refine its own fuel will be actualized in 2023. And he believes removing fuel subsidies just before an election will be counterproductive. He also believes that there will be no more fuel scarcities in Abuja. Please watch this.
Yeah.
Elder Okoronkwo, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you, Megwa, for having me.
Let's talk a bit about these reassurances that were given by the NNPC. Just a few days ago, you were in that meeting. Yeah. A lot of the stakeholders in the industry were at that meeting, and we did listen very carefully to what Mr. Timipre Silva was saying. And it's something we've heard him say before. Okay. There is enough fuel to last the Yuletide.
Good.
But we've heard these assurances before. The last fuel scarcity, we heard, don't panic. There's enough fuel to last, to take care of everybody in Abuja and in the whole country. The one before that, there's enough fuel. But we keep hearing these reassurances, yet we keep experiencing scarcities. What's really going on in the nation's capital? Why have there been recurring cases of fuel scarcity in Abuja this year?
Okay, quickly, let me bring your mind to what happened in Lokoja. You know, for over 2 weeks, that place was stocked. And no, either you can go in or you can come out. A lot of trucks that loaded from various inland depots were stocked. But eventually, when that flow started receding, Abuja started having product. Remember, if there is a little disturbance, maybe for like 1 week, the repo could even come up to 1 month. That is this chain. And when that water started receding, the stock they had here in Abuja had already exhausted. It means they have to now go back and start bringing. And remember, when this thing happened, it affected almost 2/3 of the population of this country. Now, with this receding of this water, everybody now came to the same marketplace at the same time. Ordinarily, you might not get today, tomorrow you get, but everybody had exhausted what they had in their tank. Then you could now see a surge. NNPC has to do what they call balancing, like I said in other interviews I've been having. Now the situation is like 90% under control. Abuja here, every day, must be sustained with over 150 trucks, we were told, for us to have that, and they have been able to capture that now. See, for me, I try to congratulate anybody doing well. We must say you have tried. It's not easy. Globally, remember the Russia war is also affecting the energy issue globally. And Nigeria is not an exception. More so when we import this product. That is why we are praying, and I know it's going to be pretty over soon, that this product will begin to refine it here. Port Harcourt refinery, Dangote will also come up, maybe second quarter of next year. Buhari, the wood now is also trying to rehabilitate Kaduna. If that happens, I believe we'll now be exporting this product.
Because of the recurring fuel scarcity, when you drive outside of Abuja, and I've done this myself, staying in town, knowing that there's no petrol in town, and then I drive out of Abuja and there's petrol, but it's higher. The price is higher.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to this thinking that it's because of the regulation that has been done in Abuja, where the price has to be benchmarked at a particular point? That's the reason why a lot of the marketers in Abuja are not selling. Is there any truth to this?
If you want to joke with your license, because it could be revoked and you will not do business again.
Are fuel stations allowed to sell fuel in jerry cans to people?
No, for now, no.
So every black marketer I have seen on the road is complicit in a crime?
Let me just tell you too, because this thing is not about, some people might even, in their tank, their motor tank. Have you gone to some of these borders? How they smuggle products?
The thing under the car.
In a situation where there is this scarcity, the man who has that kind of a thing might come and take product and siphon it. Is a big business.
It is.
It is a big business. Even the Keke Napep people are also, some of them have additional tank. Maybe somebody who's supposed to render 5,000 naira a day with this scarcity will be making close to 20. He will not be on the way again. He will be picking fuel. I'm telling you processes where this thing can happen. But I'm not foreclosing that some marketers, where you have two of them, must be a Judas, might not do what you have said. But
and these are your men?
No.
These are your men?
We have major, we have independent, and we have depot owners. You don't particularize it to independent marketers alone. You understand? So if it happens, it is the duty, like people like you who are in the media, to report and follow the matter up. That way, we'll begin to fight crime.
So do you really believe? Because we spoke to some Nigerians in Abuja, and we asked them, oh, look, the NNPC has said that there's going to be enough fuel for the Yuletide. Not many people were very optimistic. Some people said, I have kept fuel in my house so that whenever the thing hits in December or whatever, I can actually just put some fuel in my car. Many people don't believe this, and they don't have any faith that we're going to have a fuel queue-free Yuletide.
It's dangerous for anybody to begin to put fuel in his house. The danger is enormous. What is the meaning of holding fuel in your house, buying in jerry can? Something can spark and cause serious. The fuel is available. Even after the Christmas, there will be fuel.
Available doesn't always mean accessible.
No, available and accessible. I want you to link the two. It's available and accessible, at least from that assurances. See what is happening in Abuja. You get in and you get out. And Lagos is like that too. It's now for them to spread it all over. The price will crash naturally on its own to what should be. Those experiences outside Abuja, you won't see it again because you will have no need to go there, and they will bring their price.
So we're going to hold you to your word. We're going to make sure that if we see one fuel scarcity,
call me.
We will call you.
Yes, and I will tell you
why there's a fuel scarcity.
There won't be. From now till the end of the year, there wouldn't be anyone.
In Abuja?
In Nigeria, not even Abuja alone.
All right, that's where we wrap it up on today's interview. Elder Okoronkwo, thank you so much for being with us on Dateline Abuja. We are holding you to your word, and good luck with the work that you do.
Yeah, because we are giving every assurances, and those assurances are empirical. You know, it's not just that is available. Even today, some of them are in Lagos to see things for themselves.
Well, thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Thank you, my wife.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. The fuel subsidy regime is one of the most controversial topics in Nigeria. My generation grew up listening to this very strange story of how we have crude oil in Nigeria, yet somehow we don't refine it. So we export the crude to other countries who refine it and then sell it back to us. However, the Nigerian government has to pay something called a subsidy, so we Nigerians don't pay the full amount for the refined product. Reports state that the Nigerian government is paying 62 naira 98 kobo subsidy per litre of petrol. That's about 120 billion naira per month in subsidies. Meanwhile, we produce 1.6 million barrels of crude per day and consume almost 60 million litres of petrol daily. It's just not realistic that we do not refine our own crude oil. Until we fix this anomaly, the dance will continue. And with every election year, the removal or non-removal of subsidy will constantly be used as a bargaining chip, a game played at the expense of the Nigerian people. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.